All right. Hello, everyone. Judy Weber here with Girl's Guide to Outrageous Real Estate Success, with Livy Bryn's Success Boutique, and with the new LivyGirl community. I want to welcome each and every one of you here, whether you are live or whether you're listening to the replay. I'm just super excited to be interviewing Corinne Fales, who I have gotten to know. It's been a pleasure over the last 6 months or so. She's awesome. But before we get to Corinne, and she's got so much amazing info to pass along, and it's inspirational, but it's doable. And she's going to be the first to tell you that, which I love. But I want to ask you ladies something. Are you having fun? Are you having fun in your business? Because if you're not, I want to talk to you. Because even though this career, and by the way, as a reminder, this isn't just a job, you're the boss, you're the CEO. And that should not be intimidating. It should be more like exciting and like, wow, the possibilities are endless because this is your business. So although you need to work, right? And it's not rocket science. So it's doable. And some of you don't really, I think, believe that. And I need you to believe that because I want you to succeed. And that's exactly why Jan and I decided to interview top performers and great ladies, by the way, as well, like Corinne, every month in 2018. So that we don't just hold them up to say, look how great they are and look how great they did. But also, and more importantly, to say, hey, ladies, where you are right now, if you're just starting, or if you are kind of frustrated with where you are, understand that each of these ladies started where you are. Everybody starts at the beginning. So if you're not having fun, let me know. All right, I want to introduce Corinne. After only a few short years in real estate, she has really made a name for herself. Among other things, she is nationally recognized through Realtor Magazine's 30 Under 30 for 2017, which is an award that is reserved to only the finest of the fine, leaders, creative people who love and love on their clients. So she is a consistent top producer. She works with Redefined Realty in Wisconsin. And after just 4 short years in real estate, she's tearing it up with tens of millions of dollars in production. And I don't even know how many transactions. She has a team of her own. She's going to share all of her wisdom. And so without further ado, Corinne, welcome.
Hi. Thank you for interviewing me. I'm so excited. I try to be pretty active in your LivyGirl Facebook group. But, you know, that always, when I have time, I log on, try to answer questions. But I love what you're doing, and I'm so excited to be interviewed so we can get ready whenever you are.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you. And just a side note, Corinne, I hope you don't mind me sharing. We had to move this a day because Corinne found the home of her dreams and moved over the weekend, and it was kind of chaotic getting internet to her home. So I really appreciate you guys for giving Corinne and myself grace in allowing us to postpone this interview. But Corinne, let's start. Let the ladies know how you got into real estate.
So I fell into real estate. This was never a plan of mine. I actually moved down to the Milwaukee area to finish school. And I was working at a funeral home. I was going to school for mortuary science, of all things.
Wow.
And my office manager was actively seeking other employment. And she came across the job posting that my owner of the company had posted. After hearing more about the position, she just decided it wasn't for her. And she actually was like, but I do have someone who'd be perfect for you. In that sense, she actually gave my owner of the company my contact information, and he contacted me that same day. And I went from working a job where I was feeling undervalued, working tirelessly, just, you know, you were capped at a certain income. I was young and drained, and 2 weeks later, I started working in the office at Redefined Realty. So I was in the closing department. So I was doing contracts, helping other agents, learning the business before I actually was licensed. That's actually how I just fell, trying to face first into real estate, and I've never looked back. Coming into real estate was one of the best career decisions I've ever made. You know, I never thought at age 27 I'd be where I am. But I'm so grateful that I just kind of took that leap of faith and decided to become like you said, my own boss and run my own schedule, and I will never look back from here. So it's been really good to me so far.
Okay, super. Let's get into the meat of some things. What are the top 2 or 3 things that you attribute your success to? Because you've gone so far in such a short amount of time.
Definitely the company I work for. I mean, I think it's really important to find that company that is a perfect fit for you. I work at a boutique, so we are a small company, obviously, but it is so tight-knit and close that the other people that I work with there and the brokers and owners of that company have just seriously built me up. Any idea I've had, anything they've said yes to, they always push me to just take on my own ideas and do my own thing. So that's number one, the people I work with. I think that they are definitely one of the reasons I am, where I am. I could not be anywhere without them. And then, 2 and 3 kind of lumped together. I know the first couple of years can be really hard and sometimes you want to give up, but I've never, ever given up. I've always forged forward in hard work. I was kind of amazed at how quickly things took off, but if you're willing to work hard and put the time into it, you'll definitely get the benefits that you're looking for coming out of it as well.
Okay, great. I do think that if you are blessed to have a wonderful broker when you first come into the business, that can really make the difference between fast trajectory and frustration. So that's absolutely a blessing. Can you give us some of these ideas you just mentioned about when you would approach your broker and say, hey, how about we try this? And he was so receptive. Can you remember back?
Well, it's pretty much every idea or every avenue I've ever wanted to try. It was just been a yes. I mean, I've done a lot of shows, which I know that we'll talk about later, but like wedding shows, garden shows, home shows, everything like that. I mean, any new idea that I was bringing to the table, and I think that I can kind of understand and respect it more now that I'm a team leader, because after you do this for so many years, it's like you've kind of exhausted all of your ideas. So when new ideas are brought to the table, I think that brokers and owners just really appreciate that. They think that it's awesome that you are even willing to try something new, because like I tell my team, I've been doing this for 4 years and I've tried this and this and this, and my box is this big, and I try to think outside the box too, but everybody else has all of these new ideas coming in. So it's just always been a yes. And I've always said yes to new ventures. I've never said no to a listing. I've traveled up to 4 hours to list a property. I know in Wisconsin is a lot different because we are a little more rural than some of you other ladies may be. But I think that coupled with my willingness to just go anywhere and everywhere for my clients really just showed my broker that I was in it to, go forward. And I think that's why they've just had all this faith in me, that they've just kind of let me do my own thing from the beginning.
Okay, let's go with that as far as your area that you service. Can you give us an idea of your average price point, your stats generally, and kind of where you're servicing in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I was willing to go all over Wisconsin. So I had a listing in Minocqua, which if you do the math or map quested from Milwaukee to Minocqua is about 4 hours, if not a little more, 4.5. My stats are, our average price point home that we're selling is like $300,000. And our average days on the market, average in Wisconsin is about 100, and we're averaging about 75. So that's good. My 2018 stats, my average days on the market, I've already sold 7 this year, 25 days. So that just tells you how quickly our market has changed here. I mean, it is just really great market, really hot market. And did you want me to talk about the numbers from last year then?
Sure, I'd love that. Yeah, super.
So I started my team last year in April. The Fales group as a whole sold 80 homes. I sold half of those, but for 4 new people coming onto a team and selling the other half, that's pretty impressive. So that's awesome. That averages about 10 homes per those person for their first year of real estate. Obviously, I gave them leads too to help build them up and move them forward, but I'm so proud of them. And then our gross commission or sales income was about just under 19 million. And then out of that whole number, 10.1 million was my personal sales.
Wow.
So we're busy. I definitely hope to increase that number quite a bit, but when you start with 4 new agents, it's kind of a step back to take that next step forward during the next year, but they're all ready to go this year. So I'm really excited to see what we end up doing.
Excellent. And I'm curious, as far as the team aspect, do you also have an admin?
Luckily at Redefine Realty, the broker has a closing department for all agents. So there's 3 people working in the closing department at all times, which is just a godsend. I mean, I hear some people have to do all these things themselves, where the closing department really takes our listing files and they help us track inspections and paperwork and invoices and lien waivers. So those 3 ladies in the office really unburden us of a lot of that admin work so that we can be out there doing what we do, which is selling. And they are amazing. I mean, it is just incredible because when I started in the office, I also got to learn the ins and outs of the contracts, title paperwork, real estate transfer tax fees, gap endorsement, things like that. So when I'm going to my listing presentations, I have all of this information on hand. But I also have this amazing office staff that can be called at any time if for whatever reason I'm not able to be reached during the day. And they're there to answer all the questions too. So they are just phenomenal.
That is huge. That is huge. A quick question someone asked, are the people on your team all women?
No, I have 2 women. I see that you're kind of asking the ages. One young lady is younger than me. She's 21 years old. She started in the office as well. All of the brokers in the company wanted her on their team. I obviously offered her a spot on mine, but knowing that I was the newest team leader, it was kind of unsure if she would join, and she did decide to join my team. So she's a rock star, 21 years old, starting in the office like I did. She is just awesome. And then I have Dina and Jason. They're actually a husband and wife. So that's kind of unique. They're their own little team in my team, and they are in their late 30s. And then I have one other man, Scott. He is also late 30s, and he is my newest team member. He started in September, but also a rock star. He listed 3 lots this week, and he's listing a home later this week. So he is just up and running. As much as I'd love for it to be, one thing or the other, it's not about being a man or a woman or what age they are. It's really what personality I'm seeking out. And which is, I highly encourage all of my team members to be building relationships. My team is not based on, we have to get $1 million properties or we have to do this or that. I really just want people who are out there making our clients feel good about themselves and feeling good about the transaction so that we can gain those people as future clients. And it's all about our client satisfaction. That's our number one focus on the sales group.
Excellent, excellent. And so when we think about leads, you mentioned earlier that most, if not all, I'm not sure if it was all, the leads that your team members are getting come from you, or a lot come from you. And where are you getting your leads now? Referral-based business has been awesome to me. So a lot of past clients, when the leads come in, I ask them if they're okay with me sending it out to my team, and I let them know I'm in the background, I'm watching everything that goes on, but we all know that to build business, you need to get your feet wet. So I think it helps with clients to know that I'm still there, but once they meet my team members, I don't want to say they forget about me, but their personalities are so amazing that they're just as happy with these new team members too. My second source of leads, we have a radio show. So every Saturday morning, and I often host the radio show from 9 to 10 a.m. It's just a real estate hour. People can call in. They can ask their real estate questions. They can ask their listing questions. They can ask decoration questions, wallpaper questions, anything. It's a very obligatory, if you will. I think a lot of people don't want to call somebody because then they're afraid they're going to get called and emailed and things like that. So they call into the radio show, they ask us their questions, and we in turn earn our business. They like the radio show. We have so many avid listeners, it's crazy. And then the other way that we are getting leads is doing a lot of public events and shows. This year so far, we've already done the NARI Builders Show. We've done the Metropolitan Builders Show. We have the Home and Garden Show coming up today's the 7th, so about 2 weeks. That's a 2-week show. So
every day for 2 weeks. And that show has been so good to me in the past. Just getting yourself out there, looking professional, being professional, shaking hands, meeting people. I've gotten so many leads from that show that I have worked every single hour possible. And then we are also getting a lot more into sponsorship events. This last Christmas, we sponsored 10 kids for Christmas in Waukesha. So we bought Christmas presents for kids.
Wow, that's great.
We do golf outings. Last year, we did the Waukesha County Sheriff's Golf outing. We're going to do a couple more of those this year as well. So really with the shows and the public events, you have to kind of go into it not thinking I'm going to get an immediate return out of this, because you're not. But it's getting your face out there, your personality, you're meeting these people. And then, you know, down the line, it's shocking to see in 6 months how many of those people remember you from those events and give you a call and say, hey, I met you here. Can you come out to the house? So public events are huge for us right now.
Let's talk about that. There's so many questions that I could ask you just from what you just said, because lead gen is probably the number one question that our ladies are asking about. So real quick about the radio show, I would imagine like in Philly, if I wanted to do that, you know, there's only so much time available. So I don't even know if there'd be a slot open, but I know that that costs, you know, not an insignificant amount of money. So I'm just curious, can you tell us how your broker got into, you know, that 9 to 10 on Saturday morning slot? Do you know?
Obviously he has a lot of connections in the city, so I know that it is a very expensive outlet. He's never once charged us to do the radio show. So when I tell you that I work for the most awesome company in Wisconsin, that's not a lie. I mean, my broker sets us up for success.
Right.
I would say that if you're not able to do a radio show, because quite honestly, it is very costly, maybe do a blog post or go live or something just to get your name out there, YouTube videos, anything like that. I've seen that have pretty massive success in the industry too. Commercials are relatively affordable. So we also have radio commercials playing all the time. I have so many people calling me, telling me they hear my commercial personally. And those are a lot more affordable than just an hour worth of radio time. So if you can look into commercials, that would be something a little more, you know, cost effective for people starting out. But if you have a special program like we do as well, just getting your program out there and letting people know that you're in the business is any way that you can get out in social media, anything like that, I think it's going to help.
Excellent. Sure. Excellent. I love that idea, Corinne, that you can have your own live on Facebook and get, and if you say, you know, Tuesday, 8 p.m., you know, it's Stump the Realtor or some cute thing, and you could really generate a following and then take that and put it maybe on your YouTube channel so that it gets some traction. I love that idea. That's super. How about the shows? Because I know I've done shows before, and again, that's not a cheap thing, but it's definitely something that has been successful for me. Can you tell us a little bit about, for example, how your booth looks and any giveaways, things like that, to get people to come chat with you?
So the whole team concept at our boutique is a little new. So we've actually time blocked it where it's just team hour working, team hour working, team hour working. We have some pretty cool things. We have it's a screen printed sign. It has our commission. It has our faces from the radio show. So anyone who hosts the radio show is featured there. We have 2 TVs showing our high quality photos, which is something that if you are not taking high quality photos for your listings, I highly suggest you look into that before anything else. That's going to gain you more listings than anything. And then we have a face painter who comes free for all kids. Awesome. Parents have to stand there and wait for their kids to get their faces painted. Then they start to engage us in talking. We also give away bags. Bags are so popular. The bags were relatively cheap to order. I think it was a couple $100 for like 100 bags, just our logo on it. And then the Fales group specifically this year, we did can koozies because can koozies are popular, easy to make. Things like that. And we've also done new marketing material, which I just ordered last night. Hopefully it's done by the show. We're doing a trifold. And I also have a 9-page service guide, which took a lot for me to put together. So if you were going to do something, I would say maybe just a flyer. The services guide is probably a little over the top for people just starting out. And then what else were we handing out? Oh, something new and exciting. Buyer bucks. This is something that you may need to talk to your personal broker about if you're not a broker owner. We're giving away $500 little bonus coupon. If you list with us or if you buy with us, you'll either get $500 off of your listing, which, you know, it just comes off the top of your commission. $500 in the grand cosmic scheme of things is really nothing to us as agents, but to sellers and things like that, it's something. And to buyers, hey, those are movers. Those are dress replacements, as you may know, if you lose boxes on your moving truck.
Yeah.
So just anything. And that has our logo on it. That has the Fales Group logo. And it's really something. You'd be surprised how many people don't cash those in, but they hang it on their fridge. It expires. People remember you then, and then in turn they come back and end up using you anyway. So make sure you put at least an expiration date on it, but then they will definitely still come back and use you. So those are some of the giveaways that we're going to be doing this year.
Love that. And just to follow up, can you tell us, do you happen to remember where you got the bags or the canned foozies?
We had just those printed locally. Vistaprint, super affordable. I mean, even right now, when I ordered my marketing material yesterday, 40% off $500 brochures. So usually that was like probably, I think the total was over $300. I think I spent just a little over $150 for 500 pieces of marketing material. And then they had an extra bonus if I wanted to do extra printing or stuff. They had extra stuff, but I really shop around for those types of printing. And then I know one of the people on my team knows somebody who screen prints, so they did the canned koozies for so cheap, and the turnaround time was amazing. But I would definitely look online for those types of printing. That's definitely something I've used in the past when I wasn't a team leader. I use Vistaprint for postcards for mailings. If you don't have someone to design those things for you, they have someone to design them too. So I've definitely taken advantage of the online designers in the online printing world too.
Excellent, excellent. Let's move on to Facebook.
Okay.
Because anybody that's on this call right now and they go on Facebook, if you're like me, you see webinars of the latest and greatest whatever coming up all the time. And so the agents that in the Girls Guide group just seem like so panicked, like they need to be, you know, on Facebook ads. Are you, and what's your impression of that whole thing?
Okay, so when I first started, I was almost overwhelmed with the amount of things that I had to do that my Facebook, my social media fell way behind. So then I would be 3 months behind, feverishly trying to catch up, inputting the listings that, you know, I've sold on Zillow, Facebook, things like that. I stay more on top of it now. Every time I put a listing into MLS, which is our local listing, you know, realtor service, I instantly put it on Facebook. Easier to just keep up with that. Facebook ads, we don't use them very much at all. I mean, our market is so hot right now that we don't need to, but we are definitely considering doing a Facebook ad just to get word out there. It is a good way, you know, to get your name out there, and I see a lot of other sponsored people doing that, but I think Facebook is good to keep in contact with your past clients. A lot of my listings like that, I put their listing on my personal Facebook page so that they can just quick share it on their own. Then they don't have to recreate that whole listing and things like that. But I don't use Facebook really as a marketing tool. I use it more to stay in contact with my clients and let them know what I'm doing, what our team is doing, and what events we're going to be going into. I also, you know, post sometimes, hey, we're looking to sponsor events. If you have anything for us, we'd consider it, things like that. I think ads are definitely good if you're seeking more business, but we really just like to use it to keep in touch and show our clients that we are very tech savvy, very social media friendly, because that is really how things are turning, you know, to social media and online. But we are considering doing a couple things this upcoming season with ads. So if I have any updates, I'll let you know on that.
Yes, please let us know on Girls Guide. That would be great.
Yeah.
how about other social media platforms? Where else are you?
Instagram. We do Instagram for our listings. Facebook. I don't do Twitter. I've never done Twitter, so I don't know if other people have had success with using Twitter. I'm uncertain about that. Obviously, the radio show, which we've already talked about. And I think our business at Redefine Realty has like a Pinterest page, but we don't get much traffic on that. That's more just fun, like what we're posting, things like that. But our listings do go on Pinterest as well.
Mm-hmm. So would you say you get business through Facebook or Instagram because of your activity and keeping in touch?
I would say I get more business from my personal Facebook page than I do my business Facebook page, because I do post on business and personal, like my listings, I do both. I get more leads, I would say, from my personal page just by word of mouth, or people saying, oh, Corinne's a real estate agent, and then I'll get a couple messages every couple weeks or whatever the case may be. Hey, I'm going to be looking to buy, or I need a lender, or what's your opinion on this? Again, it's not always quick turnaround, but in the future, they're going to remember you. If you're putting it out there in your personal social sphere that this is your business, this is what you're doing, and you show them that you're passionate about this and that you're working hard and things like that, it definitely will come back around full circle, and people will use you in the future then.
Okay, excellent. Well, you were talking about how you have all these leads because you're doing so many things. And it does sound like almost every month, or definitely every quarter, you've got something exciting and outreach to the community, which is super. So tell us about your CRM. I assume you have one, or your database. And can you tell us whether or not your reach outs are systematized and automatic, that kind of thing?
We use Salesforce. Salesforce is awesome. You can input your leads. You can have tasks be reminded. I know the closing department uses Salesforce a lot to track deadlines, well, septic, home inspections, radon, all of those things. You get a reminder, and you can also print out your deadlines and send those right to your client so they know what's going on too. It also really helps us keep track of whose leads are whose. I mean, if someone calls in and they're like, I met this girl at the Home and Garden show, I can't remember her name. If you put it into Salesforce and we type it in, your leads are never going to be confused with somebody else's. So we are heavily using Salesforce. I personally don't do drip campaigns, but I do try to do a quarterly mailing. So all of our addresses and stuff are systemized in Salesforce. And you can also export your leads into a Microsoft spreadsheet so that if you need to do print labels, that's nice and fast. You can just take their address, print them, whatever. And you can do drip campaigns right through email on Salesforce too. So I think it's really user-friendly, really just clean, easy to use, things like that. And it's just always what we've used at Redefine. So I have no complaints about Salesforce whatsoever.
Okay. And what are you paying for that? Just generally, like $30 a month, or
Yep, it's $30 a month. I mean, I think that since we have all of our agents using Salesforce, we might get a better team deal. But $30 a month is probably pretty average. Yeah.
Excellent. And so it's user friendly, because I think so many of us are saying, which is the best CRM? And the best CRM is the one you use. So, I mean, a lot of them have the similar qualities and characteristics that you just said, the whole idea of the prompt for activities and reaching out. That's super.
Yeah, no, I think it's super user friendly. Obviously, everything has a little bit of a learning curve when you first start, but it took me no time, to get used to it and start using it. And the lead input is really easy. So if you are working with other people in an office, or it's just you, or whatever the case may be, inputting leads is super easy, and tracking your deadlines once you input the information is also very easy. So those are two things I look for in a CRM for sure. So I would recommend Salesforce. I have no issues with it whatsoever.
Excellent. How about door knocking or cold calling? Do you do that?
I personally do not. We are recently teaming up with a lender who offered to do calling for us. So like I just said with the CRM, I exported about a quarter of the leads, and we're going to go ahead and give that to the lender, and they are going to hire a person to call those people. So the reason I'm not door knocking and I'm not cold calling though is because in the time of the day, I don't really have the time to call the people. So the fact that this bank wants to earn our business as a team and work with us moving forward, the fact that they're willing to call the people is awesome. I would say that if you are cold calling, good for you, because they told me last year out of a list of 200 leads, they gained 21 extra deals by cold calling. So that right there could be somebody's whole year worth of listings or buyers. 21 is a pretty decent number. We don't do it now, but hopefully with the lender that we're teaming up with, we'll gain something out of these leads that aren't currently being worked or only being worked quarterly for the mailings.
Mm-hmm. I have learned that lenders have deep pockets. They tend to have deep pockets. I don't care where they work. Mm-hmm. So ladies, I would suggest that if you are not tapped into a lender, that you consider doing that. And I have to digress and say, and I'm sorry, Corinne, for interrupting this, see if you agree with this. I work for Berkshire Hathaway, and they're wonderful, and their in-house people are awesome. I've worked for other brokers before. Every one of the major brokers that I worked with, they had in-house lenders. And there was one prior broker in particular where the in-house lender and I just did not get along. And it's not because there was a personality clash. It was because he messed up 3 of my deals. And I said, 3 strikes, you're out. And so I just want to encourage ladies that understand, remember I said in the beginning, you're in charge of your business, okay? You do not have to use the in-house lender. If the in-house lender is, even though your broker's saying, you gotta use them, you know, if they don't perform for you, find someone who does, because they're a beautiful, beautiful resource and collaborative partner for what Corinne's talked about, for open houses to give, you know, you some assistance there, for safety as well as extra marketing, co-branding. It's a beautiful thing. And I highly encourage you to look into that, because we're all about being efficient with our time and with our dollars. And so lender's a great, great way to go. Corinne, how do you stay on track? Because with, you know, not only are you an amazing agent, but you've got people you're training under you. So how do you keep all the balls in the air?
You'd be surprised. I have a huge handwritten planner. This thing saved my life. I don't know why. A lot of people are like, why don't you put this information in your phone? When I write it down, it helps me remember it, because not only have I talked to this person about the appointment, now I'm writing it down. I've never missed an appointment with my written planner. I've never missed a notification on my phone or my computer like some other people have with a handwritten planner. And it also allows me to, if I need to, just take a quick screenshot of it, send it to my team. I know a lot of other people are super into Google Calendar and things like that. I'm not. I don't know why. I've never gotten into it. So my paper calendar is huge. Notes, I'm such a note and list fiend. I will have 2 or 3 lists going at a time. It just helps me cross things off. Really helps me see that even though I may not feel like it, I'm getting things done. I'm getting things accomplished. And also it does help me look back on my planners for taxes and mileage and anything like that. If there's any discrepancies, I can say, okay, well, here I was on this day. I left from this point, and this is how many miles I've tracked, or I was definitely here. And then at the end of every month, I go back and touch base with every person that I met with too. Hey, we met on the 17th. Just seeing where you're at with your listing, or are you still interested in our program, things like that. Because I do believe it's on average, you have to touch base with somebody 5 times is what I've heard, that before they're really ready to work with you. So when I'm looking back at my calendar, you know, saying, oh my gosh, I forgot that I met with Andy on Saturday. You know, you just send them a quick note. I don't know how easy it is to do that on your phone. I'm sure it's not hard, but it's just so easy to file through these papers and carry it with me wherever I go. And it just works for me.
How about when you say you're writing notes? Are those emails? Are those handwritten notes? Or are they phone calls?
Handwritten notes. I'm all about handwritten thank yous. That is the one requirement I really have for my team. Every closing you have, you will send a handwritten thank you, personalized to that person, not just a typed up note card with your signature. No, we are really about building relationships. So that's what we do. I think handwritten thank yous means so much more to people. Handwritten Christmas cards, it takes me about 3 weeks to write out Christmas cards to all my clients, but every single one with a personalized message to their family about the home they bought from us and if we could do anything for them. So writing out those things takes a little while. Again, when I first started, I got pretty far behind when it came to writing those thank yous. So now after every closing, what I do, I go home, I write the thank you, I put it in the mail, and it doesn't get lost then. And everybody's getting their thank you from me as they should.
Excellent, excellent. We have a question about open houses. Do you or your team members regularly hold open houses? And tell us about, if you do, what strategies you do to make it a good use of time.
We will do open houses. Right now the market is so good that we have not had to implement those like at all, basically. But we will set up the open houses. We put them in our MLS, which auto-populates in the Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia.com, letting all of those people know that there is an open house. Share it on Facebook, social media. We do our best to get people to sign in to the open house, but let's be honest, a lot of people aren't giving you correct information, or they're not giving you all the information, things like that. I make sure to have business cards on me to be giving to the people, let them know, hey, if this one doesn't interest you, we can help you look for something else, or get their agent's information and just touch base with the agent, because a lot of your sellers are going to want to know, how did the open house go? What was the feedback? And if those people are working with an agent and they're at your open house, they're likely not going to give the feedback to you. They're going to give it to their agent, and then you can provide it from there. I usually show up at an open house about 30 minutes early. I put signs out. I put 4 signs out around the neighborhood and on the main roads, and then 1 in the yard with some brightly colored flags so people know. But we really do believe that if someone's interested in your property, they're going to make an appointment to come see it too. But we'll do open houses for our clients upon request.
And do you, when you do open houses, do you knock the doors around the listed house in order to kind of generate some possible additional, clients?
We never have. I guess it's something to consider for the future. But we find that once you put the brightly colored flags out, that mostly draws everybody's attention driving around. But it would definitely be something to consider for the future.
Okay. I want to switch gears just a little bit. Everybody's crazy about leads. We need leads. Mm-hmm. And last week we did a challenge on building a referral biz, which is huge. And it's the whole idea of what you said, staying in touch, following up in unique ways. But I also think a lot of the issues and struggle isn't necessarily with leads. It's with converting. It's with sales skills. And I wondered what your reaction was to my opinion in that regard. And if you can give the ladies some input, because we're always worried we don't want to sound salesy or pushy. So I'd love to hear your input on sales and closing sellers, for example, on listings.
When you start out, it's hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, because you might be being interviewed up against all these agents with a list of portfolios other than you. Definitely things that make you stand out, though, are your communication, how quickly you respond. I just won 2 listings last week because my sellers, potential sellers, I should say, emailed me. I emailed them back immediately. I am a person who, no matter what time, no matter where I am, I will respond. I know that other agents have told me I shouldn't do that because then people become accustomed to it. But just the fact that I just won 2 listings because I answered immediately, and other agents I was being interviewed against waited a day or 2 days to respond, that doesn't work. Mm-hmm. I am from a generation where I want information immediately. I want answers immediately. So I definitely try to give my clients that same satisfaction. On my team, it is standard that you will respond no later than in the same business day. There's no reason that you can't be answering emails right away. I mean, that is so important to people because when you get into negotiations and you're working in deadlines and stuff, you need to be on top of that. So I think quick communication is so important. In previous years, I wish that everything wasn't still boxed. I had a listing binder. So it was cute, it was tailored to me. I had inspirational quotes in there, some samples of my pictures, reviews from past clients. We find that people really like to be looking at something when you're there in front of them. If they can look at pictures you've taken or reviews that you've sent, that right there shows them that you've taken the time to put together a listing presentation. Again, I'm all about something that I can touch. So, my handwritten schedule, my listing binder, you could do this all on an iPad too. I've seen agents have a listing presentation where they've taken the time to already bring neighborhood comps into the listing presentation. So those are things, just being prepared. I mean, when I first started, my first, couple sales interviews, I had no background. I had no knowledge about real estate. And it was nerve-wracking because, my age, people would question if I even knew what I was talking about. But you just really have to go in there, and until you're comfortable enough, you have to kind of project this confidence about you. Because if you are steadfast in your answers and the things you are saying, people are going to believe what you're saying more. I know that might not always sound like the right thing, but you just have to go in there with confidence that you know what you're talking about. The only other thing, don't be too pushy when you meet them. I've heard sellers say, well, I didn't list with them because they brought their lockback saying, they thought it was a done deal. So I try to really just build that relationship with people first, let them know, send them my market analysis after I leave, and then just let them know I'm here for any additional questions. And really, it's just kind of helped itself. People like that I'm myself. I'm not pushy. I give them something to look at. I touch base with them and remind them I'm not going to, keep selling myself to you, but I want you to know I'm here for you too.
I love that. I love that. That's excellent. And you said so many things that may sound simple, but they're so powerful. The whole idea of confidence, whether you really feel it or not, you've got to portray that you're speaking with authority and that you know real estate, because darn straight, you know real estate better than the person that you're sitting in.
You do,
right? I love that. And also just being yourself, because that's one thing, as you know, Corinne, that we're all about that too. You got to be yourself. Stop trying to be this stereotypical real estate agent that you may have in your mind, because really you are your best when you're you. So I love that advice. So ladies, that may sound so simple, but take that to heart. Take that to heart. But you mentioned your listing binder, and what was that again? That's not all the homes you've ever listed, right? Those are just some key pieces to show, hey, here's the professional level of pictures I take and that kind of thing.
Like I said, I wish I knew where half my stuff was right now, but I'm in the middle of unpacking. It was just some of my, showcase properties, if you will, or not even the $600,000 or $700,000 listings. I mean, maybe I loved the photo of this kitchen I took. And when you have the right lighting and the right editing of your photos and they just look amazing, put those in there. I mean, even if it's just 5 or 6 of them, because we've all seen those listing photos where it's taken with a cell phone or the agent's in the mirror or whatever. I mean, good photos make such a difference. Couple reviews. If you don't have a ton of reviews, don't hesitate to reach out to people and ask them for those reviews. Something cool about our company, we send a survey out after every closing to our buyers and sellers. And I specifically like to read on what could have I done better. Even if you thought that I did a great job, what is one thing that I can improve on? Because that is what's going to make you better in the future. And it is hard to sometimes hear, that you may have lacked in this or you may not have done this perfectly, but until you are addressing those things that you didn't do perfectly, you're never going to get better at them. So I think customer surveys are huge. Reviews, put those in there. Your program, put those in there. And even if you leave them with like a little flyer or something just about you, again, something for them to put on the fridge or have in their hands, because then they're going to remember you or hang it up or have it for the future. Those are all things that were included in my listing binder. And like I said, I made it really cute. I put quotes in there and just everything that was me, I reflected in the binder.
I love that. Okay, so what kind of quotes, for example? Can you give us one example?
There was one, the first page was everything I touch turns to sold. So that one, just inspirational quotes, a lot of stuff that you can find on your LivyGirl website, actually. I was like, wow, these are awesome. Those are kinds of things I printed. I had actually purchased them, I want to say from Hobby Lobby. There was like 10 in a pack, so I bought 3 packs and mixed them and mingled them and picked out the ones I wanted. But it was just very me, very Pinterest style, I liked it, and that's all that mattered. And it was something to showcase my personality in about like 10 to 15 pages to the sellers. And then I took it back with me, obviously. I brought in on all these other appointments. But a listing binder isn't a bad idea if you're just starting out, or a listing presentation, like I said, you're more geared towards the technological side of it. You can do it on an iPad or whatever the case may be. But sellers really like to see you coming prepared to these meetings. You know, look at the neighborhood stats before you come. Look at the solds before you go. I mean, I know when it gets busy, that's not always great, or you don't always have that much time, but you can always carve out 5 minutes to look what's sold in the neighborhood before you get there. I mean, that is just.
Yeah, I think that's powerful, and I think that you don't have time not to do that.
No,
just to say, you know, because you know what, and ladies, if you're newer or if you're not as experienced with listings, one thing that the neighbors are going to say, or rather that the sellers that you're sitting before are going to say, they're going to think they know more than you. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Corinne, but I can't tell you how many times they're like, well, really? You only think it's worth this? Well, you know, Sam across the street sold his house for X. And I say, I'm sorry, that's not true. And then I show them that it's not true, but they think they know more. So I really think you need to come prepared so that you are the authority. So do you have any reaction to what I just said? Have you experienced that, Corinne?
Oh, you know, or the Zestimate says my house is worth $2 million. You know, those are just, oh, it's frustrating. And I say Zillow is a great free tool. However, the information I'm using is pulled directly from the site where all of this information is being put in. I also like to not come off like I am the most knowledgeable person in the whole world, because I'm not. But I like to say, well, this is my price opinion based on the information that I found, things like that. Something about my company, we never buy up a listing. I've heard, I don't know how true it is, that other agents go in there and just bid it really high, and then they're doing price drop, price drop, price drop. I make that a point to let my sellers know, the faster I can sell your house, the better for you, the better for me. It lowers my days on the market. You're getting paid, you know, you're going to be moving faster than too. But it's hard when a seller thinks that they know everything in terms of price. But just like I tell my team, you need to regain control of that situation then, because once your client takes over, you cannot get that back. They're running the show then, and that's not how it should be ever. You need to be in control of the clients that you're in charge of, your sellers and your buyers, because we're all going to experience it, or maybe you already have, where your client takes over and you can't regain control of that situation. Now they're panicking about this, or they're upset about that. But when you stay one step ahead of them, you stay in control of the situation, which is the most important aspect, because I've had deals go south where an agent is not leading their client is leading the agent, and things have fallen apart. Because when you educate your clients the right way when you're in the deal, things move forward. But if they're just all sorts of, they know this and they know that, you usually run into a lot more issues.
I love that. There's like a half an hour or more that I could unpack there. I just want to emphasize some things. Regaining control. I love it. When you're at a listing presentation, would you agree with me, Corinne, that, you know, you've got to ask the questions, and of course we want to listen to the answers of our prospective client. But if, let's say, and sometimes for me, I'll be the first to tell you that if it's a man, it's a little bit harder for me to get control. Not harder, but I don't know why, I'm a little bit intimidated by that. And I try to get better every day, but you absolutely have to say, you know, Mr. Seller, I totally get what you're saying. And others have felt that. But here's what I found in my X number of years or whatever. I found actually boom, boom, boom. So I love that idea of getting control back. What's the other thing? When you were talking about the transaction, so many agents, they kill their own deals because they panic. I found that. Do you think that's true, Corinne?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even if I just spoke on a panel about this, we are all in this together. If you're working with another agent and you're being difficult or they're being difficult, I outright say, hey, we're in this together. I don't know what's going on, but let's talk about this. Let's get it together. And go towards our common goal of closing this property. I mean, you run into inspections issues. That's probably the biggest problem. I mean, you know, I don't want to say inexperienced, but maybe that is the best word. When you're running into, let's say, foundation issues, that's a big deal in Wisconsin. You know, inexperienced agents freak out about it. And it's like, let's calm down. Let's take a step back. Let's get a couple contractors out there. Usually it's not as big of a deal as it's being made to sound. And don't be afraid if you are a new agent to say to that other agent that you may already know is much more experienced, I'm new. I want to work through this with you. I want this to be a smooth transaction, or ask them for help. There were so many times when I first started that I was working with some of the biggest agents in the state, and it was intimidating. I didn't want to do the wrong thing. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. But if you're honest with them and let them know that you're also here to learn and you want to learn from them because they're some of the best, they have so much respect for you. One particular agent, she is one of the top in the state, and she referred me to her broker to try to get me to come work for them. I mean, and I have this great relationship with this woman now. She's like a mentor to me. So working with other agents is really important. Understanding that if they're freaking out, maybe you need to take a step back and not react in that situation, but just try to help them. That's going to help you too, but you're always going to find yourself in a situation where the other agent is just kind of losing control. And at that point in time, if you want to keep the deal together, you need to step forward and maybe propose some solutions. It may not always be your job or your client, but taking that initiative to keep it together is going to help you in the long run, obviously.
Right. And I love what you've said. Truly, I mean, if something bad happens, like an inspections issue, let's say you represent the seller, and then you get this list back and you're like, you know that as you present this, you can kind of anticipate that your client's going to freak out. Mm-hmm. So you preface it by saying, look, here's what they want done. And I just want you to know that this is totally common. They typically ask for more than they will need to get done. So before you look at this and freak out, I'm telling you ahead of time, this is going to close and I'm going to get you there. I mean, just something like that is easy to handle with your clients. And on the other side, I've dealt with agents who freak out on something like that. And then I like to laugh. So I say, you know what? I've seen worse. Let's, work together for our clients, just what you said. But it's powerful stuff. But if it's when we are in reactionary mode and we kind of only get more and more agitated, you can kill your deal that way, and when you've worked so hard to get it to that point, you just got to take a breath. And I love that what you've said about reach out to other agents. The only other thing I might add is to make sure your brokers, I mean, if your brokers aren't there for a resource, they really need to be. Because sometimes stuff happens. I've been in the business for well over 10 years, and sometimes new things happen and you need somebody experienced to tap into. So that's all great. Let me ask you this, Corinne. Now that you've been in the business for all this time, you're now a team leader. What's if there was one piece of advice you had for ladies that are really trying to build their business, what would you say?
Just be yourself. Just do what works for you. I have team members looking at me saying, what did you do? I'm doing this like you told me to, and it's not working. It's because that's me. That worked for me. It's not going to work for everybody. You got to find what your passion is within this industry and just kind of run with it. Mm-hmm. And also, I didn't let the fear of, when I transitioned from the office out into sales, I was beyond afraid. What if I don't make enough money? What if I'm not good at this? What if I fail? But I kept going. And I said yes to every single opportunity that came up. Radio show. So scared to do that. I didn't want 20,000 people listening to me live on the radio. What if I said the wrong thing? I didn't want to work 12-hour days at home and garden shows and things like that. It's tiring. It's time consuming. But saying yes to the things that make you a little uncomfortable or scared are probably what's best for you in your career. I mean, now I have builders. I have 3 separate builders contacting me and my team to sit at their new construction homes. Time consuming, yes, but worth it. Absolutely. Every single opportunity that's brought up to you is worth it. So I would say just be yourself. I think that I've talked to you a little bit about how I was a little nervous applying for the 30 under 30, about how I was not your typical agent. I am not just your standard real estate agent by any sense of the means. I'm completely myself. I'm very candid. I'm very open with my clients and things like that. And I was scared that I wasn't enough to qualify for the caliber of people in this group. And I'm so glad that I did, because it kind of opened my eyes that I don't need to be just like everybody else to be successful, because maybe they're learning something from me just by being this open, candid person, and I'm learning something from them. So be yourself. That's all you can do. Find what works for you. I mean, definitely try new things. And if someone asks you to do a new event or whatever, say yes, and go for it from there. But don't let the fear of not having enough knowledge or not having enough experience keep you held back, because you're really just doing yourself a disservice. So just go for it. Fake it till you make it. You know, you can do it. I know that everyone out there can do this. I mean, it's an awesome career. The first couple of years are hard. Unless you have some awesome broker or some awesome sphere of leads going out there, it'll be hard, and you might kind of wonder what's going on sometimes, but just push through it, because once you get to that second or third year and you've got repeat business and people love working with you, it's awesome. So I would just say stick with it and don't hold yourself back. I think that probably kills more potential than anything else, just holding yourself back.
When you just get started, how do you find business? How did you find business?
Okay, so this is probably a great example. When I moved to Milwaukee, I had no family here, no friends here, no connections whatsoever. So I'm literally trying to work a source of a city where I don't know anything. I don't know anyone. I don't know specifically. I'm sure a lot of people work for bigger companies. You can sit in the office and you can answer the phone. I mean, no, it's not fun most of the time. I mean, it's boring. There's other things you probably want to do, because we are our own bosses. We make our own schedules, but sit in the office. Even if you get one lead a week, that's your whole month's paycheck almost. So sitting in the office, I did that. Like I said, I worked these events. Anything that my brokerage offered me, I did it. Any of these training classes that were provided out there, I went to a lot of those, networking events, things like that. Anything I could do to get myself in front of people. Always have business cards on you. There's so many times I was just out in a personal situation and people are like, oh, you know, what do you do? That's like an icebreaker question. Oh, I'm in real estate. Oh, I could be looking, or I have a son or a daughter. Here's my business card. So always have those cards on you, always, no matter what. But sitting in the office was very lucrative for me at first. I was in there almost 8 hours a day when I could have been out at home sleeping in or getting coffee or doing whatever, but I was there. I was present, and I think that showed my broker how serious I was about wanting these leads and being willing to sit there when nobody else wanted to. So that was helpful to me in the beginning as well.
Great. I have one more question, and that is, seems like so many ladies are wanting the perfect script, right? And I get that, but I think that, well, I'm not going to tell you what I think. What do you think about scripts? And I think they should be practiced as far as conversations and thinking about the questions they may ask and the objections they may throw out, blah, blah, blah. But what do you tell your team about just getting out there and doing? And the opposite spectrum of that is study a script to get it verbatim in your brain.
No, I don't do scripts. Not about scripts. I never want to come off scripted. I never want to come off as, you know, I'm just running through this spiel or whatever. You know, when I also first started, I kind of tagged along with some other realtors. I don't know how many other people have that opportunity. If there's an agent in your office that you just admire or you're loving their work ethic, ask them to go on an appointment with them. They're likely going to say yes. So I would listen to what everybody was saying. You know, I would gather the information. I would take notes. But then I would start putting my own spin on it. And now I find myself having gotten into this script, if you will. I find myself saying a lot of the same things at the listing appointments because it works for me. It took a while for me to get there, but I also was listening to what all of these other agents were saying, gathering that information, and putting my own spin on it. Because again, I'm not a salesy type of realtor. I'm more of like looking at your pictures on the wall or playing with the dog on the floor. You know, I keep it very casual. I do. So I'm not about scripts. I am about finding what works for you. And I even have my team members come with me on some of my appointments, and then I've gone on their appointments, and I hear them using the things I've said, but they've edited it to what works for them and their personality. So it's funny to see how I took the information from here, turned it into my own thing. They took the information from me and are now turning it into their own thing. I'm just not a big believer in scripts. I'm about, being more on my toes and things like that. But once you find that basic information, it'll stick with you. You'll keep using it. But I think that scripts are just going to probably come off a little too salesy for my taste. It may work for somebody else, but
excellent. I mean, yeah, I totally love that, because that's why we call them conversations, and we just want to kind of know the purpose of the phone call or the purpose of the appointment, and then we kind of guide the conversation to get to that goal, to get that goal accomplished. Well, that's awesome. Ladies, do we have any questions? I think we've answered everything in the chat, and it's just now 2 o'clock. All right, well, let's thank Corinne. Corinne, thank you so much for your hour.
Well, welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, and we'll look forward to interacting with you in the Girls Guide group.
Sounds
Take
good.
care, everyone. Take good care. Bye-bye, everybody.